So you've had experiences whereby going through round after round of interviews, including HSBC, one of the feedbacks you had was your answers are a bit circular, so you don't get to the point.
Yeah.
And then in your subsequent interview with Deutsche Bank, you said you've been able to perhaps address that. So talk to me a bit more about that, and how do you think you've addressed it?
So I guess that that was actually a phone interview. And I think that in doing so, I just studied and I just tried to structure more my answers in a way where I can go straight to the point. First, in less time. So just also taking a look at how much time I take to answer. And second, by just tailoring my experience or the thing that I'm talking about and making it as simple as possible.
And I definitely think on phone calls or even on Zoom, it's some of the training that I've given other candidates is think about a simple message, because when somebody's talking around the point, the listener gets lost. And I think even more so online. Right? It's very, very easy to lose attention span online. While someone's listening to you, just as I've been doing a little bit, they're probably doing a couple of other things on their computer. And that's the problem with interviews online. Actually the person is being distracted with messages and calendar notifications. So you need to bear that in mind. And in order to be heard, it's about making one point clearly per answer. Even if it might seem a bit basic, then you can offer to go into more detail on that point. But I think it's about making that sort of firm point. So did you say one of the questions was about a trade war? What was that question?
Yeah, so the question was, there is a major trade war happening between two large countries. And tell me, what are the immediate impacts of this?
Okay, so major trade war happening between two countries. What are the immediate impacts on this? And talk to me about the answer that you gave that was perhaps a little bit too circular.
Yeah, so the answer that I gave, trying to remember everything, is that I referred to a trade war going on between the US and China, first of all. And for sure, what was missing was an initial sentence saying something like, to be honest, I wouldn't be able to describe all the immediate effects concisely, not concisely, in high detail, but something like this could be triggered starting from a trade war. And what I said is that I referred to a trade war going on between China and the US, saying that it has impacted Europe, the Eurozone, through imports and exports, and that has reflected mostly on the American economy.
Okay, so I think what they'd be looking for a bit more there is potentially is a bit of detail. Okay, so of course it's going to impact Europe, and of course it's going to impact the US economy, but you don't have to know very much about finance or financial markets to understand that. You could be absolutely removed from finance and give that kind of answer. What you could particularly say, for example, is in this type of trade war, you see prices of different commodities move based on where tariffs are going. So in the recent trade war, you saw the main export of the US to China, for example, being soy, and soy farmers being hit quite dramatically of that. So that's going to impact prices on the global market, where the US soy can't reach China, and then actually the price of that commodity in China is going to be impacted. You also then have currency fluctuations. So one of the sizable impacts that we've seen on the trade war between the US and China at the moment is, or was based on, what the Chinese were doing with their renminbi. And one of the frustrations was, if you like, the currency wars, where everyone was trying to look for a cheaper currency in order to try and get more trade. So it might be that a trade war in that way really creates volatility in the currency markets, and therefore the impact on that for a company like HSBC would be for us to be able to help our clients better hedge from future currency risk. Okay. So something along those lines, where there's a point to it. So yes, of course it's going to affect the economy, and yes, it will affect Europe and the US, but what will be affected? I think just saying the economy is too broad. I think you could say, I liked how you started it by saying look, obviously lots of different things will be impacted. For example, okay, and then for example, you could look at the between the US and China, you could look at the price of, you could look at what's happening with Chinese companies on the US stock exchange.
Okay.
You know, one of the ways the US is retaliating to what they see as a threat of China is by persecuting a number of Chinese tech companies. Now, you've seen that create volatility in both Hong Kong and Shanghai with those Chinese tech firms. That could, for example, start to taper the rally of technology stocks that we've seen over the last 18 months. Okay. Even that one answer, do you see what I mean? It's just, yeah. And I don't know if my answers there are particular, you know, anything can happen in reality. I just think you need to be able to show knowledge and communicate knowledge, but not go into more depth if they ask.
Okay.
Yeah, so you start off with that initial answer saying, well, there's obviously many different things that will be impacted. For example, we can just look at one, which is the currency markets. Should therefore be really interesting. You could say it would be really interesting to see actually with a lot of people are expecting Biden to be much more China friendly than Donald Trump. But that may not necessarily be the case. And then if that's not the case and this trade war actually prolongs itself, what might happen to the price of commodities that the US sends to China, or the price of electrical goods in the US? Because if they're now not able to import so much from China, that'll obviously put upward pressure. And perhaps one of the most interesting things that could lead to is inflation. And as we all know, it's the lack of inflation that supported global markets for so long. And I'm really interested in the inflation outlook should prices start to move.
Okay.
Yeah. So just, and it doesn't have to be, I'm not, you know, you're not showing off with knowledge or anything like this. It's just sort of picking some detail.
Okay.
Well, what else then? So that's that type of question. What other types of questions do you feel like you might have gone round on?
So actually, like, I think that now, like this time of the year, with everything that just going on the past few months, they tend to focus a lot on, for example, the outlook on interest rates. So, yeah. For example, sometimes they ask, so what do you think will happen in the next FOMC meeting? Mm-hmm. Or can you explain me how negative interest rate works? Or sometimes they ask also, oh yeah, something very, very common, just to tell a recent story in the press that has impacted you. And I remember when I was interviewing with JP Morgan, I think that they were noticing that I was talking too much about COVID related news, and an associate, actually, no, it wasn't an associate, but he asked me to talk about something that was not COVID related. So that is something, he caught me like I was not ready for that question.
And how did you answer that?
So that was like the middle of November. Mm-hmm. And just 3 days before, something like that, there was the news that Pfizer had found the vaccine for COVID. So I was talking about that only, and it just he could understand that I didn't prepare.
Fair enough, it's major news.
And something that I could have talked about, for example, was what was going on in Turkey with the president of Turkey firing. Yeah, but like this time I have a news ready about Italian politics, which is something I'm very prepared.
Good. I mean, I think the main themes, yes, Italian politics, and you should be the expert on that. So that'll be great to be the expert on that. But look, I think it's about having like 3 pillars of main themes that you can refer to, right? So yes, you've got COVID done. The second one for sure, I think, is interest rates, monetary policy, and inflation. That's such an interesting story at the moment. And then the third one, at a global level, geopolitics. You mentioned the trade war. Obviously, you've got Brexit still going on, and really yet to iron out how that impacts the European economy and the British economy. But with those 3 pillars, I think you've got enough. You could add another pillar, which could be equity market valuations. Mm-hmm. At the moment, a lot of people are calling it a bubble. So, you know, having those kind of lead stories that you can fall back on, I think if they asked anything, you can kind of refer it to one of those stories. So they could say, talk to me about interest rates, talk to me about a trade war. Talk to me about, and you've got 4 pillars that you can kind of fall back on. Even if they say, why would option trades be interesting for our clients at the moment? Again, you can fall back on one of those pillars and say, well, look, we've had this phenomenal rally in equity prices, specifically the US, over the last 18 months and longer. A lot of people out there are expecting heightened volatility as we reach these elevated levels. So an option allows one of our clients to stay involved in the market, but protect themselves should there be any sharp moves, either higher or lower. And so you're going back to one of those key themes. Okay, or you could say, well, an option, given the potential political uncertainty that we've seen in recent trade wars with the US and China, an option would allow some protection against the change price of goods. So I think having those 4 themes is quite important.
Yeah, and just something that maybe like made a difference, for example, is that during the last phone interview, when I was interviewing with Deutsche Bank, they were asking me, I don't know how we ended up talking about options, to be honest, but it was a trader. He asked me to explain to a kid how options work, like how does it work for a call option to pay off or a put option. And I referred, for example, specifically to one of the simulations that we did during the program. It was on commodities for the reaction of price of commodities after the Hurricane Harvey of 2017 in the US. So maybe like trying to structure all the time more in details, depending on the person that you're talking to, whether it's on sales, trading, or
Perfect. And that you felt confident that answer went down well.
Yeah, I think because I just reviewed 2 things. It's actually something that I wrote on my CV just to make it a bit more special, let's say. So I have that ready. But I think so.
Okay, so what now? You've got the upcoming assessment center with Deutsche Bank. What date is that?
It's on Wednesday the 3rd.
Okay, so a week tomorrow.
Yeah, I still have a lot of time.
Now, from the program, do you remember where we shared a number of links where you can sort of help prepare and practice? You've done a number of assessment centers, I assume, now anyway.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that for next week?
So, my first assessment center was, I don't think I was super prepared, if I have to be honest. And just going on from one time the other, it makes a difference. Also because now this is my 3rd, and I feel like I'm more prepared, I'm much more confident, and sometimes even if I get like more tricky questions, I can handle more the pressure. Whereas the first time I was a bit, you could tell.
No, of course.
I was really nervous. But I think that what makes the difference sometimes is just to talk with as many people as you can, and also practice a lot with other people, because that actually makes the difference.
So how did you practice with other people?
So sometimes with friends. For example, for a phone interview, we just separated in 2 different rooms. A friend of mine called me on the phone because so that he couldn't be facing, like he couldn't be looking at me, and just simulating how an actual phone interview would be. And what really makes a difference, I think, is that when you do it with friends, they really care about your success, of course. So they tend to give you the most honest feedback, and that's something. So sometimes you are a bit I don't know, shy, or you are embarrassed to do it with your friends, but it's actually the best thing to do.
Yeah, really, really good, really interesting. So how can I now help you for next week? After Wednesday, are there then further interviews, further assessments? How does it go?
So for now, I have some applications outstanding, but I actually sent an application that I just got the news that I was advanced to the next stage at Revolut as a trader intern. Because since there are 20 top investment banks, many of them are just
not
on my list anymore, are on my red list. I'm just broadening my mind on applying to as many things that are related to what I actually want to do, because I want to just start in London and build my career here.
Absolutely.
And
No, look, someone like Revolut, that's so interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. You know, I think that opens up lots of potential doors as well.
yeah. I mean, my goal is to be in global markets here in London.
Yeah.
I also had, for example, since I'm interviewing at Deutsche Bank, I also sent another application in Deutsche Bank in Milan for the same position, and they contacted me and I had an interview just to practice.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, that's something helpful actually, but that's not my main goal. But yeah, I just want to find something as much as related to global markets and to something that here is in London, and because I think that starting here is the best thing. Also,
well, you know, it's interesting. Do you remember last time we spoke? I think it was after you did the Amplify program. We had sort of one of these sessions, and I was trying to talk to you about being confident in just how an attractive proposal you have to a potential employer. I can say that I can feel it's very different now. What you've been through and how you talk and how you present yourself, it's very different now. It's a different prospect. So I think you know that's excellent news.
yeah, I think that as much as hard as it is, like I had many different failures during the year, but something good will happen. I'm quite confident. But yeah, it's just that when you start doing this, you need to just keep doing it. This is something I kept doing during the Christmas break, and I feel like during the Christmas break, most of the people just stop applying to jobs. But actually, like when I was applying during Christmas break, companies were answering me on the 24th or on the
Wow. Yeah.
So like people are still working, people are still
Yeah.
people applying. So I think that makes a difference.
Excellent. And when are you speaking with the other Amplify trainee, Serena, you said?
Today, actually.
Oh, okay. Great. Well, yeah, she'll definitely be able to help and give you some insight.
Yeah.
But is that on Zoom or a phone call?
I think, I don't know, we haven't decided yet, but I think that maybe we'll do it on Zoom so that I can practice.
I think you should do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
I really do. It provides a way more effective way for someone to remember you, know who you are, and you know, especially in this case, and you know, try and look out for you.
Yeah.
Oh well, listen. Good luck.
Yeah, for the best.
Yeah, no, I think you're you know, if you imagine before the summer how you were feeling and how you were looking at things, then going through the program, and then since we've been touching base from then, I think it's you're a very different candidate to what you were. And it's interesting. Hopefully now you can see that.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I think that these kind of like failures, let's say they're not actually failures, they help a lot of people more than getting immediately a job, I think.
Absolutely. Well, listen, good luck. I look forward to Lens making a big splash about you as the next success story.
I hope so.
For sure. Okay, take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.